Welcome back to another episode of Ways. My name is Mohammed, here with the co-host Osama. Osama, how are you
What's
doing
up?
today?
I'm blessed, man. How are you? Let me tell you, I just said before the podcast that I had a blessed meal.
What did you
And,
eat today?
well, I told you, I'll let the fans find out. If you want to find out, message me on my Instagram account.
So everyone wondering what Osama ate? Message him
Look,
again.
look, look. It's a healthy meal, just to say. That's all I'm going to say.
We'll see about that. But either way, welcome back to another episode. Thank you so much for the love and support. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at our Instagram page at Waste 2.0. Once again, at Waste 2.0. You can follow Osama at Kusa300. My page is Muhammad.global. Today's a different episode. Obviously, we have a lot of different guests on the show, as you guys all know. And today's episode is really special. This is the first time we actually have two guests on the show today, right, Osama?
Yeah, it's the first time we ever had two
Yes.
guests at the same time. Yes, sir.
So this is the first time we have two guests on the show, and we're really excited because today's subject matter is really important as far as the time and just the speciality of it, right? So we couldn't have
Absolutely.
two more better educated guests and people who are more revered in what they do. And without a doubt, Osama, please introduce who we have to on today's episode.
So today we have Dania and Lena. So basically, backstory. Lena, Dania, I don't think you know this. I think we followed you on Twitter first, and I actually liked what she was tweeting, and she was like really inspirational. It's like she's tweeting a lot of stuff that I definitely agree with. And then I found her on Instagram, and I followed her, and I asked her to be on the podcast, and I asked her like, what would you like to talk about? She's like, women in sports, specifically also about Muslim women in sports and how much impact all women have been doing. And then she asked me to ask her friend Lena if she would like to come on, and they're both. I had amazing conversations with both of them, and I'm honestly hoping to hear. I'm hoping and to hear some beautiful conversations as well. Yeah. So, guys, welcome to our podcast for the first
All right.
time.
Thank you for having us.
I was
All right,
gonna
we'll
say
go.
though. So before we start, how about you guys shout out your Instagram account so people can go find you or talk to you?
Sure. So mine is Danya. So that's DANYEAHX. And same handle on Twitter as well.
And Lena.
And mine is Lena Aljeilani dot my last name Mukhtar Mukhtar. Nothing special
For,
with
it. For everybody listening, we'll definitely tag them in the post in the description below. Go check them out. They have some fire content.
Is really important, like I said before. And we're talking about women in sports, mainly Muslim women in sports. It's something that really isn't talked about. It's something that really came up as far as the subject matter within the past 3 to 5 years with different athletes on the rise and really changing the conversation on how we perceive women and women in sports. I think this could have been better. Beautiful thing about this podcast and this platform is when you have people on the show, not only do you understand the perspective, and especially how they're able to develop the answer in such a way that you do the homework right after. So I'll start with Lena. Why do you think that women in sports, especially Muslim women in sports, is really important as far as the time?
I think it's super important just because, like, for me, it's something to like look where you can kind of reflect yourself as that person. So if you see someone who looks like you in the field that you love. So for me, I like to run a lot. So if I see someone who runs, who is another fellow Muslim runner, it kind of encourages you to do better and like kind of pushes you to that limit, right? And especially if you have people like represented in like the Olympics or even in like those high elite standards, it just gives you that little like that push, like to just kind of do better and like and kind of just keep going.
Sorry, what was the question?
Basically, he's asking like the significance of women in Muslim women's sports today and how important it is. Basically, I think what he was asking.
Just like how Lena said, and by the way, Lena and I met at the Messiah Marathon. And before that, sorry, my bad. Before that, we met at a tournament for cross country. In my first year of college, I was a runner and represented my school. And that's where I came across Lena. She was coaching for George Brown, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, and that's how we met. And then we ran together in the Messiah Marathon. And just like how she said, it's very important to have leaders and figures that you can look up to in the community. For me personally, Ibtihaj Mohammed, which we'll get more in details with later on in the podcast, but she definitely played a huge role in motivating me to be out there and be unapologetically Muslim and not, not settle down for anything less.
Honestly, I have to agree with both of you because for me specifically, I believe now more than ever, it feels important that one, women are getting the recognition that they're getting, specifically Muslim women. And you bring up Ibtihaj Muhammad, who was obviously a fencer, and did she get gold or silver in the Olympics? I'm not sure. Do you guys know?
I believe it was gold. I'm gonna do a quick Google search.
Yeah, but basically, just like while you find like what medal she got, I feel like she was such an inspiration to a lot of Muslim women, and now I feel like a lot of Muslim women, whether you're in business, sports, or like entrepreneurship or in school, I feel she indirectly inspired you. She indirectly inspired you and do something impactful, do something great. So for me, like for example, actually one of my friends who's like a fitness trainer, her account is like Easy Fitness. I always tell like she sometimes like we always talk and she tells me like, oh, she feels demotivated, and I always tell like, hey, remember there's a young women who are looking up to you, or women in general who are looking up to you because they want to be in your spot and they want to do the same thing that you're doing. So I feel Ibtihaj Muhammad and all these other amazing Muslim athletes are going to pave the way for other women right now. So one day they don't have to go through the same struggles or the I guess you can say tribulations to do what they want to do.
Definitely. And it's not just with fitness. It's it's not just the running or like Olympians in general. It's fitness in general. When you see some woman out there, you get inspired no matter how much of following she has. And that's one of the reasons why I have my IG public, because I want others to be inspired by what I do. And I've got so many and I've got so many messages of young ladies messaging me, telling me that they have been inspired by what I do, and that just means the world to me.
And you said it yourself. That's definitely so inspiring because one, I always tell like my friends who are like I always tell the girls like that I talk to or like who have businesses, and you said it yourself. It's definitely inspiring because one, a lot of people these days with social media. I want to say this that one, it's hard to put yourself out there in the eyes of the world to do something to do with art form, whether it's athlete or whether it's fitness or whatever. And those are the two hardest things because one, they get judged a lot, and two, it's one of the most competitive sports. And at one point, it was more male dominated. Now, for these strong, influential women to go out there and say, not only can women do it, we could do it better.
100%. I just want to correct myself. Ibtihaj actually won bronze. It wasn't gold.
Bronze. Okay, so just going back to my point, like for the first Muslim hijabi woman to go and do fencing and to win bronze speaks so much to the point that you could do whatever you want as long as you put your mind to it. And she didn't allow her hijab to be a detractor. She didn't allow the fact that she was Muslim to be a detractor. She's like, no. She's like, I'm gonna prove to the world that this might be broad. The next time I'm gonna get like gold. Next time I'm gonna continue influencing and being the greats and keep going to the point until she solidifies herself to be the best fencer or athlete in the world.
100%. Couldn't say it any better.
Mo, you're back, bro. Thank God, man. You got better Wi-Fi, didn't you? Listen, bro. You're good. So basically, just to fill you in, because I asked Danny the question, and basically we were discussing that how important it is to one how these young women are looking up to influence like not influence sorry like the athletes like Ibtihaj Muhammad who were the fencer in the Olympics, and how not only is it amazing that those Muslim women athletes or even women in general are indirectly and directly influencing younger women to go follow their passion.
Get it right.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ways 2.0. My name is Mohammed here with Osama. Make sure to follow us at Ways 2.0 on Instagram. Follow Mohammed at Mohammed.global. Follow Osama at Kusa300. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, and other various platforms. New episodes every Wednesday. Back to the episode. Sport playing? Was it basketball, running, soccer? What was your favorite sport playing?
I played every single sport possible that my school provided.
Really? What was your favorite sport?
To be honest, my favorite sport was basketball.
Jeez.
I pride myself with my three-pointer shots.
Honestly?
Honestly. But to be honest, I'm good at three-point shots as long as no one's blocking me.
So you're saying you're
Um,
I
nice.
see.
Yep. I also played soccer. I played a little bit of volleyball for a bit and badminton. So those are the sports that I've dabbled in, but like the ones that I really stuck with and kept going was pretty much basketball and soccer, the two main sports for the most part.
Danny, what about you?
Same thing, like growing up in elementary school, I played every single sport there was out there, but I focused on track and field and cross country, especially track and field. That was my main output, and that's where I excelled. And growing up, as I went into high school and college, cross country is what I focused on. And yeah,
That's
That's
wicked.
amazing. I remember I did cross country when I was in grade 3. Osama, did you do cross country? No, you
No,
didn't.
no, listen, I didn't because why do you say it like that? Yeah, honestly,
I,
I was a little fat kid, like who couldn't run at all. I got faster as I got older.
it used to
I
annoy me
wish
because I
my
was on the
school
track
actually had
team.
a track team.
Well, the thing, like back, our school was like when we went to our school, it just had opened up, so it was really new.
Yeah.
So obviously, when schools are new, they start funding it and giving you so much other stuff. Yeah, I didn't go to cross country because one, Arab parents don't allow you to go anywhere, and two, I just didn't care. But yeah, go on. Sorry about my life. Yeah, go on.
But no, I
I
remember.
was gonna
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that my school didn't really even have that opportunity to even have a track team or cross country. I actually got into cross country my last year of college, and then
Really?
that's how I ended up being a cross country assistant because they
So,
needed help, and that's when I
so,
met Dania at the race.
so I have a question for both of you. So you guys mentioned you play a lot of sports, and fitness is obviously a big impacted your life in somewhat way. I'm assuming. What would you say is the most fun sport or activity that you've done that you felt as if is like I feel myself 100% when I'm in this area?
honestly, that would be cross country. Like nothing can come close to the feeling of running in the woods and not knowing when the finish line is. Like that feeling is just indescribable.
Lena, what about you?
I got a mixed answer. So I love cross country, but I also like um, at the moments when I did a bit of track in college because you can just go stupid fast in a short time. Um, so I have like it's both related to running, but those are the two that I genuinely enjoyed. Is like the track, doing track and cross country.
No, that's amazing. Like the fact that you guys are doing cross country, like through a grade 3, grade 4, I wonder if cross country
Okay.
in school, right? So, it's pretty
Repeat
cool.
that. Repeat that again. What'd you say? Because you cut off for a bit. What'd you say in the beginning?
What I was saying was the fact that they're doing cross country is amazing because after
Yeah.
like grade 3 to grade 5, no one else ever did cross country at our school even talked about and stuff, right? And even our track
Yeah.
team, like no one took it serious.
Well, I feel cross country one takes a lot of discipline, and I feel not everybody's gonna do it. And to like honestly, like for Dania and Lena to say cross country is their favorite, I guess their favorite activity or fitness thing is like honestly one is empowering because I could tell you for me, I will like if someone asks me to do a marathon, I'm not doing it because I my cardio is one is bad and two, I feel they know doing. But for someone to do that, that takes a lot of discipline. Like gym is one thing, go to the gym and lifting weights is one thing, but cross country is another thing because to me, I feel a lot like for guys, I feel like the thing is, oh, I can outrun you, but I feel for women specifically, there's an actual goal set that they want to achieve. There's an actual objective goal. Got like, oh, like I never met a guy that did cross country just for the sake of doing cross country. But I feel like a lot of women is one they want to help a certain cause or stuff like that.
I can attest to the fact that it could be more or less uh, a discipline for sure. But I truly believe that anyone can do it. It's just really getting past the little hurdle of, oh, like the distance is the biggest thing that a lot of people get to. It's like, oh, it's
Yeah,
5K. I can't do the 5K. It's 6K. No, hell no. I can only do 300 meters or 400. Tell me to go around a track. That's no problem. But it's going more than that. It's like mentally, it's more of a mental challenge, if anything, I find it personally, than a physical challenge. So once you pass that little hurdle, like you can do anything. You can even run a marathon at that point because you're like, it's just a distance, just time on feet. You got this.
So let me ask you guys a question, because obviously we spoke so much of like sports in general. Like obviously we mentioned a bit of Ibtihaj Muhammad. So for you guys specifically, who is you can name three, you can name as many. Who are women or Muslim women specific athletes that influenced you to get into fitness? Like who are these people that you look up to? It's like, wow, like I want to do it as good or as better.
There's this fitness trainer on Instagram. Her name is Zahra Ali Bahai. I don't know if I'm butchering that or not, but she has been featured on global news. She's been on city TV news, and she's been like everywhere. And when the first time I saw her on TV, I was like, wow, there's a hijabi Muslim woman on breakfast television that's doing exercises for women. And I looked her up on Instagram and I started following her, and she got in touch with me. And that just meant the world to me to have someone like that just in touch with someone who at the time I was my first year of college. So she was definitely she definitely played a huge role in me and influenced me, and she gave me so much words of advice to do better in school, to be the best version of I can be so I can help others.
That's honestly amazing. The fact that like that I kind of respect that a lot for people who are in higher positions to come back and reply to you. It's it's one a humbling experience, and two, it's like they're not scared to give knowledge back because at the end of the day, like everything's on Google, so why not take an opportunity to give something back to your fans? I'll actually love that answer. Shout out to that person. What's her name again? You said Zara what, sorry?
I believe it's Zahra Ali. Hold on, let me look it up on Instagram.
Zahra Ali? Alright, cool. While you do that, Lena, what about yourself? Who's someone that influenced you and like someone you looked up to?
There's a female athlete who is, I believe she's a trainer. Her name is Saman. And I followed her purely because I love uh, uh, like the power that she gives out with like she does Muay Thai as well, like her strategy and workouts. And she puts out workouts that are like easy for anyone to follow, and it's just like it's something to kind of motivate you to kind of get stronger and better and whatnot, right? So I look up to her for fitness aspect of it for the most part.
You know, I love both your answers. I want to add on to that because for the longest time, we've always, like, when we thought of sports, you've always thought of, like, Michael Jordan, basketball, Wayne Gretzky for hockey, like soccer, Messi or Ronaldo, whoever people watch these days. But now you can think of, like, women athletes who, like, for example, Muhammad Ali's daughter, like Layla Ali, Serena Williams, Ibtihaj Muhammad, and all these beautiful and amazing women who now are paving the way for younger women, and not even younger women, even men are getting influenced by these women because they're like, everybody has an opportunity now, and to see these women making a big impact and proving to the world that I could do this as good as you or even better, and set their mark. Now, when you look at the legends, or even for example, professional wrestling or like even boxing or MMA, like Ronda Rousey. I don't want to butcher names. I think Holly Holmes. Is it Holly Holmes? So all these like amazing women who are at one point when you thought of UFC, you thought of Conor McGregor, but now you're thinking of wow, like I can actually watch a woman UFC fight. Actually, I think maybe a year ago I was watching a UFC woman fight. All the women cards were actually much more entertaining, much more intense than the men were, and I'm like, because they're trying to prove a point to the fact that we could do this better. We're much more entertaining. We're working as hard, if not harder, and I feel that for me, I can watch any athlete now because I want to watch an interesting match or a lovely art, I should say.
Because I have a really good question. The question I wanted to ask, it's actually amazing how both of you guys have been cross country, and especially as a passion. We usually don't see Muslim girls really doing that post high school or even post a college or university. What made you guys feel comfortable doing sports post high school and stuff? Was it the support from your parents, or was it from the commitment from your friends? Because usually,
Good question.
when you think
Good
about Muslim
question.
girls, you don't really see that. So I wanted to know, like, were you guys comfortable doing it because of the support from your loved ones, or what was the answer behind it?
My parents have been really supportive in my extracurricular activities growing up. Like they would drive me to and from practices, which really supported and motivated me to keep going. But I believe it's because I studied kinesiology and fitness and health promotion in college. I'm currently in kinesiology and health sciences. So I believe my field of study is also motivating me to continue running, continue following my passion in fitness because it's very beneficial for the body and whatnot. And honestly, seeing Lena and her posts on Instagram every single day of her running and cross country and like all the beautiful scenery that she comes across, that is really motivating me. So, which is why I wanted Lena to be on this podcast because I believe she has more to say in terms of cross country and her running journey.
I appreciate that. It means the world. I've always been an active kid, so like for me to keep running kind of made sense, to be honest. What really got me to keep going is actually me and one of my good friends in cross country. We signed up for our first half marathon, and we kind of just kept training after school because this would be my last year in college. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this half marathon. We're gonna run it. I've never done anything past 5K at this point. So we just trained and we did it. It was a whole lot of fun, and after that I just kept racing any race possible that I could afford. And then with the trails, to just get back onto the trails, I actually started registering for a race called MEC. Under MEC, the head races is the trail races. So I just kept racing that just to kind of reminisce with the cross country feel, like running through the woods and having things being marked and telling you where to go, because I'm the worst in directions. So I just kept finding different ground to run on, and it's been fun.
So honestly, the kind of inspired a question in my head, and because you guys, I've always wanted to do cross country, but I have a question for both of you since you guys, you both inspired me at this point. What's sorry?
I did cross country as well.
That's okay. You were 9 years old, bro. Chill.
Still,
It doesn't count. I was gonna ask, what's the advice you would give someone, like within fitness? Obviously, you both have impeccable knowledge and you know what you're talking about. So, what's advice specifically for cross country, even the gym, that you would give someone going to like?
Sure, I guess I'll go first. Honestly, just do it. Like, there's no better advice to give than to just go out there, put on your running shoes, and just run for fun, no matter what the distance it may be, whether it's 1K, whether it's even less than that. Just run for fun, because once you run, you get to experience the feeling of joy. I don't know how to explain it, but basically when you're running, you block everything behind. You just focus on your path. You let go of all the stress in the world. You just focus on what's in front of you, and that feeling is indescribable. And once you get to experience that feeling, you'd want to run again. I don't know, Lena, do you have anything else to add to that?
I mean, no, really. I mean, the only thing I can really add is just don't worry too much about the distance or your time or your pace, because I'm going to tell you this right now. When you first start running, I bet you're going to go really fast. Try not to do that. Just take tiny little steps and just kind of ease into it, and just kind of find that little moment of joy for the most part.
Muhammad, did you hear that advice? That was for you.
I used to run. Like I used to do professional running as well.
Bro, why are you gonna embarrass yourself on the podcast?
Because the thing is, I went to Mohawk for police foundations, so mainly like we had to do running like a whole semester. So you had to do like 1K one day, and then every 2 other days you might do 3K.
Hold on. You fasted today, so don't lie. You used to not run. You used to watch other people run. So let's not lie and expose yourself.
Clearly, I was in a program where if I did not keep up to the standards and the speeds and, like she said, the pacing and all these different things, I wouldn't have passed, obviously. So when it comes to the art of running, everything they're saying is a totally like 100% correct and stuff, right? And it makes me remember my first day. It makes me remember my first day in police foundations. I had a teacher. His name was Dennis something. I forgot his last name. He's like 63 years old. He's the oldest. He's the quickest runner at his age in Canada, and he's like, guys, we're gonna go for like a 2K run. Everyone, make sure to keep up. We're all kind of laughing and stuff. We're like, this guy's like what, 63 years old? We can keep up with him easy and stuff, right? So he's like, we're gonna go. Follow me. Just keep up at my pace. We're like, no worries. So just start running and stuff. Just start jogging stuff. And obviously, since
Yeah.
you're young, you want to run quick. That's your mentality, right? So you just keep running quick.
Mhm.
And obviously, as we're running, we're right beside him and stuff. We're going and going and going. And then, like, he's not going quick. He's not going slow. He's just, like, right in the middle as far as his pacing. And then eventually, like, after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you start losing him. And you're trying to keep up with him. And by the end of the run, we're all exhausted. We're all exhausted. He comes back and, hey, guys, what happened? And we're breathing. It's like, oh, it's because I'm old. That's why you guys thought that you could outrun me. And he's like, welcome to Police Foundations. You guys thought you could run. I'm going to teach you the art of pacing. If you guys can learn this, by the time you're done this semester, you guys will know how to run. And it was a beautiful lesson, a humbling lesson as far as
Well, clearly you learned the impact of patience and obviously keeping your composure, which kind of brings me to my next point, which I want to touch on. We spoke so much about like women in sports, Muslim women in sports specifically, and obviously, just like how the influence. However, I want this question is for everybody to answer. How do you feel now? How have women impacted sports? What has changed between obviously like 20 years ago to now?
For me, it's more like when I grew up, I didn't see a lot of Muslim females or even Muslim, not just Muslim females, but like women in general being represented in the media in any sport, like as they're represented now. I kid you not, if I saw that as a kid, I'd probably work my bum off just to like try to qualify for some elite level of for running especially. So I'm hoping this actually inspires more younger generations to kind of like push themselves and be like, yeah, I can do it because so and so did this kind of thing, and they see themselves there. They're like, hey, I can do it too, kind of thing.
So let me ask you a question. So when you were young, and obviously Dania, we'll get to you as well. So when you also the question goes to you as well. When you were young, what athletes would you look up to versus now?
I never really had a specific athlete that I looked up to. I kind of just self-motivated myself and be like, okay, I want to be really fast. I really like this sport, so I'm going to do it. And I think maybe in high school I'd watch a few Olympic games and seen a few races. I don't know specific names, but just like their control, their focus is just inspiring. So I just kind of use that as a push, to be honest.
That's amazing. Dania, how about yourself? How about you?
Just like how Lena said, I didn't really have someone to look up to as a kid because I believe like back then things were a lot different. Now you have Nike hijabs. Now you have more companies catering towards Muslim women and modest fashion in sports, whereas that did not exist back then. Back then, it was very, very rare to see a Muslim woman running. It's very rare to see someone modest in the sports industry, whereas now it's becoming the norm. And in terms of a figure to look up to, I didn't really have someone to look up to. I looked up at my gym teacher because she was the only woman that I saw in my eyes that was out there. But besides that, it was just me, myself, and I.
Well, I can guarantee you now that there are definitely women in general, or even men, who are looking up to both of you because of the inspirational posts that you're posting. And obviously, I feel the most inspiring thing is that both of you are doing something impactful and you're going out of the way to do the thing that you love, and that's the most important thing because you're able to connect with your brand, and the fact that you're authentic with it, people respond.
Yeah, I definitely had some guys actually message me and say that they have been motivated by my posts. Back then, I used to post workout videos, and that used to reach a large audience. And I've had a lot of feedback from both genders saying that it's motivating to see someone out there not afraid of the criticism or the feedback and just doing what they love to do.
Also, I can say one thing. I think Muhammad, you can agree, because obviously we've known each other for the longest time. So I think growing up as a guy, like obviously for me, a lot of my favorite athletes were men. Obviously speaking, because like that again, sports was a male-dominated sport 20 years ago, I would say. But now, like watching sports, like I do pay attention to like other sports, and like I'm watching the like inspiring women. Even like for me, because I consider myself somewhat of an entrepreneur, so sometimes I even watch women in business, because then I'm like, they have a different mindset in terms of how they tackle certain stuff, the emotional side, the psychological side, which is sometimes really important to understand. And it's definitely a scary thing when someone is emotionally strong, because then they're able to read their opponent. Mohammed, so I want to ask you the same question that I asked them. What's your answer? Because you're sitting there smiling.
Up, you know. But as far as the question itself, yeah, growing up, when it comes to sports, like yourself, for me, my favorite player was Vince Carter, right? So I loved Vince Carter and everything about him. So that was my world. Basketball's my favorite sport, soccer second. As far as women in sports, the only person I remember watching growing as a kid was Muhammad Ali's daughter, Layla Ali.
Yeah, Layla Ali. Shout out to her.
Mainly because like we're a boxing family as well. So during that time, she was dominating the sport at her weight class. So just watching those fights on the side, I was like, wow, like I did not know that a woman could be so dominant in the ring. And obviously, when you find out her father's obviously the greatest of all time, arguably in boxing, then it only makes sense. And besides Layla Ali, the other person, I wonder if you guys know, is Florence Joyner, or AKA Flojo. She's actually the world's fastest runner as far as in the Olympics. She's Black American, and she's popular because of her famous clothing and what she used to wear. And she also holds the record as far as the quickest run in the 100-meter dash.
Really?
So yes. So growing up, we would see her run as well, and also we watched her documentary whenever it came on TV as well. So those two people I identified with growing up. But obviously, 20 years later, it's totally different, as everyone said, with the lines and as far as the movement in itself.
You know, the one thing I want to say, because you kind of sparked an idea for me. If you look at men in sports, right, they're always compared to one another. So there's always that comparison between LeBron and Michael Jordan, or like Wayne Gretzky and Cindy Crosby for hockey, for the all non-hockey fans. However, when you think of women, Layla Ali never had to live under her dad's shadow because of how impactful she was. Ronda Rousey never had to live in another person's shadow. Like, when you look at women are like, when you think of a woman athlete or whoever you choose to follow, they're always independent and identified as their own entity, which is beautiful, by the way, because you never really hear. You always hear a lot of men athlete comparisons, and the argument never ends.
But at the same time, Osama, the problem is, as dominant as women can be in their sports, they still don't get the respect that they deserve, right? So I also love tennis, and Serena Williams is arguably one of the greatest players of all time in any sports. And obviously, as we know, she's the most dominant in the field of tennis. But even in the tennis world, they will not consider her the GOAT when you're comparing both men and women. A famous tennis player, his name is
Roger Federer?
No. John McEnroe. John McEnroe is a famous tennis player. He even said, like, no men, Serena Williams could even beat the worst tennis player that's a man. And also, as we know, she has more Grand Slam titles than most of the great tennis players that are men.
So for me, honestly, this is what I think. I don't believe that women and men should be compared, because they're both amazing in their own respectives. And for people to say that Serena Williams is not a Hall of Famer, is not a legend, it's just BS. Because one, you said it yourself, she has world-class titles. She's beaten history. And to me, I feel... Sorry? Yeah, exactly. She won a title pregnant. And that speaks for itself. And pregnancy on its own is already, like, painful enough. Not that I know, but obviously, from what you're hearing, like, obviously, from what you, like, yeah. Anyways, but that's what it says. And that's already impactful. Like, you know, the one thing is, like, men don't have any sort of, like, labor, like, actual injuries. Like, but for you to like, go out of your way to, like, play while you're pregnant, bro, that's already, like, inspirational. Name one person that's able to do that. Ain't no man gonna do it, bro. Some people are like, after a thumb injury, like, yo, bro, give me a day off. Like, I gotta go off. However, the respect for women is not, yes, it's not there close to men. However, over time, you will see in the next couple of years, it's gonna either surpass or be as equal, because at this point, people are starting to realize. Like, I'll give you the best example. One of my friends is a huge professional wrestling fan. He loves the WWE, and now when you look at WrestleMania, which is the biggest sport like pay-per-view in history for people who don't know, women have now been the main event. They're now the main event. Like, people are actually going to pay thousands of dollars to watch these women who are amazing athletes to go watch, because they're putting 10 times more of the work. And it shows you that the respect is coming. It's just a lot of people are subjective, and they choose to be ignorant, and they say, oh, well, I still would rather watch men. That's your opinion, but give the women the respect that they deserve and that they've earned.
I just want to touch on something since you brought up Serena Williams. I want to touch on the women in sports when it comes to anger, because when last year, was it last year I think it was 2017 actually, where when Serena Williams had she got angry because the referee didn't do a fair job, and so people started making jokes about her, and especially about her race, and how like uh saying things like black women are aggressive and whatnot and all that. And just like a few weeks ago, was actually I think it was last week, where there was another match and there was a white lady that threw a tantrum, and none of that was said about her. It just goes to show that even women in sports, there's also another subcategory about race. Race plays a huge role in women in sports, just like how it does with men in sports. But I just felt like bringing that point up, because even within women, there's also the subject and the topic of race as well.
Oh, I'm actually glad you brought it up, because that's an amazing point. Lino, do you have anything to add on to that?
No, she said it all well. I don't think it's for me to add to it, to be honest.
Yeah, but honestly, to add on to that, yeah, I honestly believe race is a big issue within sports, because even, like, I guess both men and women still have issues with referees and, like, their skin color, and I don't believe your race nor your ethnicity should define who you are. Like, eventually, when you're playing a sport, you get in the heat of the moment, you do get upset, you do get mad, and that's because you feel like you're getting screwed over. Obviously, even Mohammed, you played sports when you were in like school, and sometimes you know for yourself, even as a kid, things, or even for everybody who has played sports, like sometimes you're in the heat of the moment, you say stuff not because you mean it, but necessarily because you're frustrated, and it's like you feel like they're making a bad call.
Right.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ways 2.0. My name is Mohammed here with Osama. Make sure to follow us at Ways 2.0 on Instagram. Follow Mohammed at Mohammed.global. Follow Osama at Kusa300. You can listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Anchor, and other various platforms. New episodes every Wednesday. Back to the episode. I remember, and as well, I was also offended as well, because all the greats in whatever sport they do, like whether it's LeBron James, Tom Brady and stuff, whenever something happens and it goes to like with the referees have to figure out something, you will give that person the respect. So if Serena one of them said like, hey, I think this call isn't right, you'd be like, okay, you know what, Serena, since you are a GOAT in this field, I will let it go and stuff. But the fact that even after all these titles and her run during the open era in sports and what she's done during her reign, the fact that she couldn't even get a simple call to go her way, obviously the frustration came out, and the fact that the media turned it against her and is like, oh, it's a stereotypical black woman. Anytime something happens, there's the emotional rage. Yeah, it wasn't right, and obviously it was uncalled for. And the person, John McEnroe, the one that made the criticism against Serena Williams that initially brought up, he's a hypocrite, because he's literally known for doing that throughout his career. Like, if you check out his matches, he is known for going at the Empire, insulting them, getting calls his way. But the media never lampooned him and saying like, oh, it's white privilege, or oh, it's just male egotistical thing. But when Serena Williams finally does it once, in like year 18 of her career, and 13 to 14 Grand Slams later, she's seen as an angry black woman and just a woman that's wanting too much attention and too much control. And this is why tennis can't be in the hands of women and stuff. It's just very ideological.
Honestly, for people who obviously, because race in sports is not spoken about as much, and I believe it should be, but eventually, and I guess I put money on this, give it a few years where all these amazing women that we all mentioned, who deserve Hall of Fame status and definitely deserve, who have all amazing careers in their own respectives, are paving the way for these young women, such as yourselves, Danny and Lena, and obviously all the other women around the world. So when they're on these big platforms or any platform, that they never have to face these accusations or race or stuff ever again. Not saying it's going to be eliminated immediately, but to the point where at least they're not being discriminated by their skin color while they're playing the sport. Because what happened to her in 2017 was definitely disrespectful to even myself. Like when I'm playing a game like 1-on-1 or like 5-on-5 with like basketball in the park, it's in the heat of the moment. Like you obviously feel that I got screwed over. This should be called. Why didn't you call it? She had every right to say it, and I feel that eventually people over time switch. And again, people always make up like cancel culture. I hope they start canceling this culture of the fact that this stuff has to go away. Hey man, that's very true.
And we really are moving towards that, like putting that that movement out, like with the Black Lives Matter. It's always been there, but a lot of changes has been happening in a lot of the sport industries, and people are finally realizing how undiverse they are. So it's getting there slowly but surely, but we'll see how much of it would actually change over time.
Honestly, just like to say, I guess my final point, being a Muslim man in this country, it makes me, and obviously like having like I have a sister, and obviously it makes me happy when I see Muslim women or women in general succeeding in any business or any art form that they're going after. Because one, to me, it's empowering and it's impactful. It pushes me even harder. I'm like, wow, like even during these times where sometimes it may not be the easiest for them, but they're still going after it. I feel for every man listening. If you have a sister, if you have a friend who's a girl who's going after their dream, that should be the biggest inspiration. Because a lot of the times for any man, if you say your life is harder, go slap yourself in the face, because that's actually a lie. And I feel to listen, bro, it's true. Like you know what as well. It's like you know what as well, bro. The fact that men get paid more than women is like still ridiculous, and stuff
It's
where
absurd.
it's absurd and all. Exactly, right? It's like, yeah, there you go. Sports, like sometimes the same. Like, you know what's actually funny? Dave Chappelle mentioned this. He was like, "You'll take LeBron James," and he's like, "If you put him in the women's league, well, he'll probably still get paid more." And it's right there you go. So I feel that for me, that's an inspiration. And I always tell like one of my good friends who I follow on Instagram, she's a fitness friend. I always tell her, I'm like, remember, you're an inspiration to all these young women who are looking up to you, especially young men as well who want to do something but can't and are shy. And the fact that you both, Dania and Lena, have platforms where you're showing yourself, exposing what you guys are doing, which is beautiful and amazing. And I hope success comes to you in all the brightest ways.
Thank you, thank you. As a kinesiologist, we have studied how race and gender plays a huge role in sports. And now that you mentioned the payroll and how women get paid less in sports, there has actually been a lot of studies on how even like campaigns and advertisements, women do not get the same opportunities. They don't get the same pay despite them doing the exact same work, if not.
No, and hey, I honestly, like, I'll be the first one to agree, because I see it with my, like, when I was working in my corporate office, I see it. And again, like, I'm not gonna talk about everything but obviously I see how the different relationship is, or like how, for example, they'll do 10 times more work, and I'll be doing legit nothing. Like, and then like and sometimes I feel bad, like just like the ethics in me goes in, it's like, hey, let me help you out. Like, I don't believe you should do this all by yourself, because it's like simple stuff. I love helping out, but I feel for everybody listening, this is happening. So go out, and again, I feel, and for all the women that are succeeding, it makes me happy, because the fact I'm like, damn, like these women are going out of their way, kicking these men's asses, and like proving to them like, you ain't taking my spot. Look, UFC is the big example, and so was the professional wrestling the big example. Women are going out of their way, taking their spot, and saying, this is my main event, not yours. Yeah, Mohammed.
I remember the WNBA. It was actually around either this time or last year, when a lot of the athletes were actually frustrated because they felt as if they weren't getting paid enough, obviously as the NBA players. And number two, the advertising wasn't enough as the NBA players. And obviously because of that, and they haven't had any chance to really prove themselves, the perception of WNBA hasn't been at its value that they feel that they should be, despite the great athletes that they had, like Lisa Leslie, a former player for the Los Angeles Sparks, who's actually a multi-time champion and also the first woman to dunk in sports as well. And then you have Candace Parker, who's pretty much like the new like Lisa Leslie of this generation. And even
Yeah.
her, with all the advertising she has and the sponsorship from Nike, she feels as if women in sports, particularly in the WNBA, is not getting the same treatment and equality that the men do in the NBA as well.
Honestly, my advice is that, yeah, and which is obviously unfortunate. However, it's funny. I remember one time my cousin told me that he's a lot older. He's like, which I agree with his statement. He was like,
So,
"What?
are you shaving your legs? What's going on, man?"
I'm not shaving my legs. Why are you gonna call me out like that, bro? Bro, you're an asshole.
I don't know what you're doing. It just looks like pink background. It looks like your legs are up. I don't know if you're shaving your legs.
Okay, first of all, for everybody listening, I'm in my mom's room because she has better Wi-Fi. This guy keeps saying pink background, bro. Like, my room is blue. You look like you're living in like Ireland, bro, with your bum ass green background. Get out of here. Anyways, I want to thank both Lena and Dania for coming on to our podcast. We had a lovely conversation.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. See, because Mohammed's a liar and he talks too much trash, his Wi-Fi cut out. But yeah, I want to thank everybody. Please go follow them on their platforms. They're both amazing people. If you want them back, comment down below on our Instagrams. We'd love to have you guys back as well. I definitely had a beautiful and fun conversation with you guys. I hope you guys do come back, and I hope you guys enjoy your day.
Same to you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Peace.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.